Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. Hello everyone, viewers and friends, this is a news report. According to the frontline reporter of our station, yesterday, a huge lizard appeared in the 9th district, causing a lot of casualties. Any attack by the police failed to deal with it. It caused effective damage, but under the precise design of the battle, this terrifying monster was finally successfully captured by the police, and this monster was named by scientists as the indestructible lizard. Yesterday, a strange vibration signal was detected underground in the 3rd area. Some scientists analyzed that this signal is highly similar to the activity signal of the Zerg swarm that disappeared a few years ago. The local government attaches great importance to it. This morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, the police again found signs of mysterious church activity in the 11th district. The members of this church were covered in fish scales, pale and foul-smelling, and muttered lalai or more obscure words. According to the information provided by the police, the religious rituals carried out by this church are evil and inhumane. If any citizen encounters a suspected member of the church, please contact the police immediately. In a small and dark room, with a musty smell of dampness, an old TV with a yellow screen reported these absurd news. The screen of the TV was reflected on Yadu's eyes, and Yadu didn't have any smile on his face when he heard such absurd and funny news. Instead, his eyes were full of seriousness. Because Yadu knew that these news were not low-level jokes. They are all true. Even though it has been a while since he crossed into this world, whenever Yadu sees such absurd but real news, it is always a little hard to accept the reality. Isn't the immortal lizard the master of SCP-682? What the hell are the Zerg swarms? Religion, fish scales, Larai. Is this the rhythm to give sugar to Mr. K? What are these area codes? Yadu sighed and wanted to complain but didn't know what to say, so he turned off the TV, leaned back on the sofa, and the soft and old furniture let out a painful moan. Then Yadu gently used his fingers my temples. I want my mind to relax. Yadu traveled to this world not long ago. Yadu, who lived a life without food and clothing in the original world, of course also fantasized about traveling to another world to take risks and gain powerful power. But after he really crossed into this world, Yadu began to regret that he had ever had such an idea. This world has more than 10 billion people, but it is far more dangerous than he imagined. SCP, Cthulhu, Zerg, and various terrifying and dangerous elements are mixed in this world, threatening the people's safety. Although in this world, there are also people with powerful powers, they are called power people, who can contend with these dangerous and evil existences. But these powers are only a few after all, and it can even be said that they are few and far between. Unfortunately, Yadu is not one of these lucky ones. When he crossed over, he thought with joy that he would awaken some kind of golden finger system, but the truth was extremely cruel. He was as ordinary as most people, and he had no special talents. And the abilities of the superpowers are innate. No matter how hard they try, they can't let ordinary people get superpowers, which also means that Yadu can't awaken superpowers like them. In this world, except for supernatural powers, the level of technology is very advanced, far exceeding the world before Yadu, but this is only limited to the military and security aspects. The police and government troops have quite powerful technological weapons, which allows them to be able to operate without. In the case of a power user, it can deal with most abnormal situations. But this is only limited to the military aspect, and the people's livelihood technology is very backward, which is why Yadu's room is so small and there are few furniture. Ordinary civilians have no right to acquire weapons at all, and only a few wealthy people can buy technological creations that can protect themselves from the black market. However, Yadu, who came across, didn't even have a penny. With no ability, no money, and no weapons, Yadu at this time is just an ordinary person with no power. How can he survive in this crisis-ridden world? Thinking of this, Yadu suddenly had a headache again. At least give me this traverser a golden finger system. Yadu muttered to himself. Ding! The infinite dimensional communication group has been activated. Start loading. The loading progress is 10%, the loading progress is 30%, the loading progress is 80%. The loading is complete. The infinite dimension exchange group has officially opened. Suddenly, a sound came from Yadu's ears. After Yadu heard this sound, he was stunned for half a second, and then he finally recovered. The golden finger system is finally here. Yadu carefully recalled the system words just now, and stepped on the ground rhythmically with his right foot. He finally obtained the long-awaited golden finger system, but the specific function and effect of Yadu are still unclear. Infinite dimensional exchange group? Is it the kind of system that is more common in web articles? You can communicate with characters from different worlds, gain their powers, and even travel to their worlds. Before Yadu came back to his senses, the system's voice rang again. Chapter 2. Ding! Congrats to your host, you got the novice gift pack. May I ask if you want to open the novice gift pack? Turn on. Du Feng doesn't know what the novice gift bag is, but since it is a gift bag given by the system, it is definitely not a bad thing. Before the group members connect, he can just see what is in the novice gift bag. The novice gift package has been successfully opened. Get the power of the void. It is detected that this power will have an irreversible impact on the host, should you upgrade it. Note, this power comes from the novice gift package, and this upgrade does not require points. The power of the void? Yadu was a little stunned when he saw this ranking. Void is an important element in many games or movies. Although their origins vary from work to work, they all have one thing in common: it comes from a different dimension beyond the realm of reality, and it has terrifying features that can distort the real world. Power, and they often have no fixed form, but can control a huge void army. However, in this world, there are no related games or movies, so what is this power of the void? Yadu didn't know either, but anyway, it was better to have power than nothing. Upgrade. Yadu nodded and said. Start upgrading. With the sound of the system, Yadu's vision became pitch black, and when it was bright again, Yadu found himself in another space. The ground had disappeared. Yadu felt that he was in a weightless universe, surrounded by broken stars, as if they had been eaten by some huge creature. Their shells were riddled with holes and emitting a deep purple light. And the exposed core has no energy, withered and dimmed. Chaos and twisted forces permeate this infinite dark space. Here is the dark void. Yadu soon knew where the power of the void came from. The Void Lords in Warcraft, they were existences beyond the reality of the universe, even above the Titans. Even the ancient gods were creations of the void. The Void Lord casts the ancient gods on various planets, absorbs the energy of the planets, and turns them into Death Stars. Suddenly, the rays of light from the surrounding Death Stars were even brighter, and these rays of light gathered together and turned into a huge palm, which grabbed Yadu, who was floating in the darkness. Yadu didn't feel any pain, and this huge arm merged into Yadu's body and was completely absorbed by Yadu. Yadu felt a strange force pouring into his veins. Ding! Congratulations to your host. The upgrade is complete, you already have the power of the void. The sound of the system rang. The darkness in front of Yadu's eyes gradually faded away, and he returned to his room. At this moment, the sound of the system rang again. Ding! You can invite 5 group members for the first time, is it enabled? Turn on. Ding! Host, the group members have successfully connected. Ding! Bald Cape Man has joined the chat group. Ding! The Empire is the strongest, has joined the chat group. Ding! I have a ghost sister, I have joined the chat group. Ding! The strongest creature on the surface has joined the chat group. Ding! The Dark Knight who doesn't sleep has joined the chat group. Yadu opened the system menu, and an interface similar to chat software popped up. Bald Cape Man, ah, what is this? What is this? A special mode of the game? There won't be a fee, right? I can explain first, I have no money. I have a ghost sister, I don't know very well, it feels like I'm in a dream. Bald Cape Man, then what the heck is this? In an old-fashioned apartment, a bald man was holding a gamepad, staring blankly at the strange page that suddenly came into view. Hey, Genos, do you know what this is? Behind him, a robot came over. Teacher, what are you talking about? Isn't this just a video game? Hey? Didn't you see it? This chat software-like thing. Sorry teacher, I didn't see anything. Could it be because you have been secretly playing King's game console for too long, your eyes are tired and hallucinating? Bald Cape Man, then you, like me, were playing video games and suddenly saw this kind of thing. I have a ghost sister, what about video games? Bald Cape Man, have you never played video games? Is it the kind of game that is inserted into the card slot and connected to the TV? I have a ghost sister, I'm sorry, I don't know what TV is. Bald Cape Man, you don't even have a TV? Do you live in an old forest deep in the mountains? I have a ghost sister, that's right. Ghost Squad headquarters. A red-haired boy was resting on a stone with his back on a stone. There was a scar on his forehead that seemed to have been burned, but it was shaped like a hot flame. Chapter 3. Empire is the strongest. Is this a mind control type of Taigu? Interesting, it seems that I may finally meet a strong man who can bring a little fun to my boring life. I have a ghost sister, hello, do you know what the situation is now? The Empire is the strongest, how do I know? Also, who are you guys? Is it a foreign nation or a revolutionary army? The northern border of the Empire is full of snow. A woman in a thin white coat was sitting on a chair with a chain in her hand. The sharp high heels under her feet were stepping on a man who was naked and bruised, and the other end of the chain was attached to the man's neck. This woman has blue gem-like eyes, but the corners of her raised mouth are full of excitement. I have a ghost sister, what is the Revolutionary Army? What are the alien races in the north? The Empire's strongest, are you pretending to be stupid? The strongest creature on the surface, oh? Are you looking for a strong man? Look at your tone and your name, are you a strong man yourself? The Empire's strongest, at the strongest creature on the surface, isn't your name the same? Look at your ridiculous name, you are the one who caused the current situation, the unknown emperor, I hope you can have it. It matches the strength of your funny nickname, but don't let me be too disappointed. If you perform well, I can consider opening the door and saving your life. The strongest creature on the surface, ha 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 ha. Tegu Envoy? I don't know what that is, but you are the first person to say that you want to save my life. It just so happens that I am yawning boredly now. If you are really a strong man, come out and fight with me, and let me refresh myself a little. Inside a luxury hotel. A half-naked man had a smile on his face, his body was covered in sweat, and beside him, a group of terrified soldiers, slumped on the ground in despair, looking at the man with eyes full of panic. The man turned around, and the muscles behind him formed a terrifying ghost shape. Bald Cape Man yawned, it's too boring to be strong, it's meaningless, anyway, it will be solved with one punch in the end. The Empire's strongest, at Bald Cape Man, solve it with one punch? Ha ha ha, it's really funny, but from your ridiculous name, it can be seen that you are bald. Bald Cape Man, if you mention this title again, I'll beat you up. The Empire is the strongest with his hands on his chest, his face is full of confidence, come on, if you can do it. I have a ghost sister, please don't quarrel. It's the first time you all meet. Just as the four of them were chatting hotly, the Dark Knight who never sleeps never said a word, as if he was traveling outside the crowd. Batcave. Master Bruce, it's time for a rest, you haven't rested for over a week. An old man in a suit walked behind a well-built young man. No need for Alfred, I'm still in good spirits, and sitting still like this is already resting. The young man was wearing black armor, an equally pitch-black mask was placed on the table, and on the table, there were countless darts, all of them in the shape of a bat. The Empire's strongest, you guys should be very strong. If you don't go together, maybe there is such a faint possibility that you will be tied with me. The strongest creature on the surface, it's arrogant, I should say this sentence. Bald Cape Man, it doesn't matter who is the strongest, anyway, in the end, it's all settled with one punch. But there shouldn't be any charges for this chat software. I have a ghost sister, how come the quarrel has escalated to the point of making an appointment? Everyone, talk well, don't hurt the peace like this, it's not good. In just a few minutes, the relationship between the group members has reached a point of tension. Yadu carefully browsed the conversation between them. Although the group members used special nicknames, Yadu could also guess their identities from these names and what they said. Bald Cape Man, and his affirmation of his own strength, needless to say, the name must be Saitama in One Punch Man. The Empire's strongest. After mentioning Taigu, Yadu also guessed the identity of the other party, Ests, in Cut. In Crimson Eyes, there is a super female general who controls the power of ice and snow. There is a magical weapon called Taigu in that world, and Ests is the strongest female general in that world. I have a ghost sister, who speaks modestly and docilely, and has been persuading others not to quarrel. This is probably Tanjiro Kamado in the Blade of Demon Slayer. However, Yadu has no way of knowing the identities of the other two. One of them is a person nicknamed the strongest creature on the surface. His name has swelled to an unparalleled level, and his speech is also very arrogant. It seems that he is also the most powerful existence in his world. And the other person named Do Not Sleep the Dark Knight, did not say a word from the beginning to the end, should be a very taciturn person. Chapter 4. The Empire's strongest, at the Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, is there another person who doesn't talk all the time? What's the matter? Are you looking down on us people and disdain to communicate with us, or are you trembling and afraid to speak? Or, you are the culprit behind the status quo? At this time, others also noticed the person who had not spoken. Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, I was suddenly pulled in here like you. All quarrels are meaningless until I understand the current situation. He looks more mature and calm than the others. The strongest creature on the surface sneered a few times. So, this friend who doesn't like to talk, do you understand the current situation? Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, the information is not enough, we seem to be connected to a special chat system, and the people who can forcibly pull us into it are certainly not simple, there are similar abilities around you. People. I have a ghost sister, no. Bald Cape Man with his hands behind his head, he doesn't seem to care about what's going on now, I don't know, maybe it's a hero of the Hero Association, or maybe a weirdo, but I haven't heard of anyone with such an ability. The strongest creature on the surface, hey? There is no such guy around me. If you can pull me into this kind of place, maybe it will be very strong. The Empire's strongest, I haven't heard of any Taigu possessing such abilities, but if this guy is really strong, why didn't he show up? Are you afraid? Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, since everyone doesn't know what's going on here, why don't you all explain your identity? I have a ghost sister, my name is Kamado Tanjiro. A soldier who has just entered the ghost killing team. Please advise. The Empire's strongest, did you reveal your identity to the unknown guy so quickly? What is the ghost killing squad? Of course, this may also be false information, but it doesn't matter, I'm not interested in knowing your real names, unless you really have the power to make me remember you. My name is Ests, the general of the Empire, and hiding my identity is not necessary for me. Bald Cape Man, my name is Saitama, and I'm currently a hobby hero. The strongest creature on the surface, Fan Ma Yongjiro. Fan Ma Yongjiro. Yadu knows the name, he is the strongest human being in the Blade Tooth series, no, just like his name, he is the strongest creature, capable of turning stones into diamonds with his bare hands. Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, Ghost Slayer? Empire? What's going on? I can't find your names in the database, at least I can be sure that you are not residents of Gotham City. The strongest creature on the surface, Gotham City? What are you talking about? But since you brought up the matter of revealing your identity, you should also set an example, this guy called a knight. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, he faintly spit out 3 words, Batman. Bruce Wayne. Yadu typed this line almost subconsciously. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, a question mark appeared almost at the same time. Others only noticed at this time that there was a name at the top of the list of group members. Yadu. And behind Yadu's name, there are 2 yellow fonts, which are extraordinarily shining, the group owner. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, who the hell are you? Did you do all of this? At Yadu. Yadu, sorry, I also know exactly what's going on. I became the group owner inexplicably, but it seems that this group connects those of us who are unrelated, not even in the same world. Not from a world. The crowd was surprised. Then what is this group doing? The Dark Knight who never sleeps looks very calm. Please wait for a moment. As Yadu said, he browsed the system menu and found the detailed description of the exchange group, read it carefully, and then nodded. I will send the specific instructions to you, please accept it. The group owner Yadu uploaded a file, please accept it. Empire is the strongest has successfully accepted group files. The strongest creature on the surface has successfully accepted the group file. I have a ghost sister has successfully accepted group files. Bald Cape Man has successfully accepted group files. The Dark Knight who never sleeps has successfully accepted group files. Do you connect communication groups of various world dimensions? I have a ghost sister, it's unbelievable. Am I dreaming? The Empire is the strongest, it's a bit incredible, but considering the current situation, it may be true. The Dark Knight who does not sleep stretched out his hand and gently rubbed his chin. Does the group owner know the information of the group members in each world? No wonder. At first, he wondered how Yadu knew his real name. After all, as a hero with a hidden identity, except for a few people, it is impossible for anyone to know that Batman's real identity is Bruce Wayne, the richest man in Gotham City. But if Yadu really had the information on all the group members, then it all made sense. Chapter 5. The strongest creature on the surface is very excited. Can I fight against the powerhouses in other worlds? I can't wait. How do I go to another world? I have a ghost sister. From the description, you need something called a travel card to go to another world, so how do you get the time card? Yadu added at this time, the time travel card needs to be redeemed with points. As the group leader, he naturally knew more information. You can see the points mall on the system page, and there are other things that can be redeemed in it. As Yadu said, he also opened the points mall with a change. The time travel card requires 1000 points, which is more expensive than expected. Bald Cape Man frowned, how do you get the points? It's not for money, right? I can first declare that I don't have money, so it's impossible to deceive me to spend. Yadu, it's not about money. Points can be obtained by signing in. The sign in button can be found in the system menu. Each time, you will get 1 to 100 points randomly. As soon as the voice fell, another line of messages popped up in the chat box. The Empire is the strongest has successfully accepted the group file and gained 29 points. The strongest creature on the surface has completed the sign-in today and gained 36 points. I have a ghost sister, I have completed the sign-in today and got 58 points. Bald Cape Man, I have completed the sign-in today and got 9 points. The Dark Knight who never sleeps. I have completed the sign-in today and got 87 points. These guys are really fast. Yadu complained in his heart, and then pressed the sign-in button himself. Yadu has completed the check-in today and got 62 points. 62 points is quite satisfactory, at least it is above the average level. Bruce Wayne's luck is a bit good, he even got 87 points, but Saitama. Bald Cape Man shook his head, why do I only have 9 points? Is there really nothing wrong with this sign-in system? The Empire's strongest after hearing this, he showed a mocking expression, 9 points? Ha ha ha, it's ridiculous, I thought my 29 points were low enough, but I didn't expect that I was someone else's. 3 times more. Bald Cape Man, damn, are you laughing at me? The Empire's strongest raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, oh, it turned out to be Bald Cape Man, I didn't expect you to be the one who only got 9 points, it seems that your luck is really yours. The name is just as bad. Bald Cape Man, aren't you the second to last, arrogant? Believe it or not, I'll beat you up. I have a ghost sister, don't quarrel, it's just a matter of luck. The strongest creature on the surface, luck is also a part of strength. Do you want to fight and see who is stronger? Ests was also extremely vicious in the chat group, and successfully aroused Saitama's anger with yin and yang words. The mentality of being a big problem has added fuel to the fire. How long did these guys stop, and then they started arguing again? Yadu sighed, he didn't expect that these strong people from all worlds were so naive, and now it's like a quarrel with children. Stop for a while. Yadu had to open the general ban. I really didn't expect that even with a sign-in system, you can make so many monsters for me. Yadu thought about it again, even if the whole group was banned from speaking, so that these guys couldn't speak, no one would be convinced in their hearts, so once the whole ban was lifted, they would definitely become a mess again. Not as good. Let them conquer each other by their own strength. After all, this is a communication group, and quarrels and the like are definitely not good, so after I contact everyone to be banned, all quarrels will be banned. Yadu smiled slightly, and then lifted the entire silence. The group leader is finally here. Kamen Tanjiro Changsha breathed a sigh of relief, and the quarrel can finally be ended. It seems that at least the owner of this communication group is a fairly reliable person. In order to avoid quarrels, 2 people who have conflicts in the future should fight directly. Yadu said with a smile. What? Tanjiro Kamato was shocked, he didn't expect Yadu to say such a thing at all. He was already starting to regret the speculation about Yadu just now. And almost at the same time, a message appeared on the public screen. Bald Cape Man invited Empire's strongest to a duel. It's not good. Kamato Tanjiro couldn't help but feel ashamed. But before he could finish speaking, another line of information appeared on the public screen. The Empire's strongest has agreed to the duel invitation from Bald Cape Man and is waiting for the group owner Yadu to confirm. The group owner Yadu has completed the confirmation. For group members who want to watch the battle, please click the watch button. The Dark Knight who never sleeps has joined the spectator seat. The strongest creature on the surface has joined the spectator seat. Kamato Tanjiro thought for a few seconds, and finally sighed and clicked the watch button. I have a ghost sister has joined the spectator seat. Chapter 6. The surrounding environment began to change, and granular black gradually filled the vision of the group members. After completely covering the space, the particles regained their color. At this moment, they are all in a brand new space. The ability to teleport in space. With an excited smile on Est's face, he carefully looked around the scene, surrounded by huge buildings. Is this a city street? But looking at the decoration of the building, it is completely different from the imperial capital. She raised her head again and found several people suspended in midair. They are the other 3 group members, and because they are spectators, they can be suspended in midair. Yadu, the group leader, was also among them. This time, Estes was convinced of the group explanation just now. This group chat really has the ability to connect with the worlds. Where is this place? On the other corner of the street, Saitama is also looking at the surrounding environment, his face is full of indifference. It's amazing to be in an unfamiliar place all of a sudden. This is a dedicated arena in the exchange group. Yadu said. The flow of time here is almost motionless relative to the outside world, and it can also be said that the time in this place is static, and the damage and even death caused in the duel will return to the original after the duel, so you don't have to worry, you can do your best. What about these buildings? Destroying public property costs a lot of money. Saitama is a little worried. After all, although he has great power, in normal life, he is a frugal and even stingy person. After all, he is only a sea-level hero at this time, and his income is very ordinary. If the building is to be fined, he can't afford it. No need. Yadu smiled slightly. You can play as much as you want here, and everyone in the dual space can use all their weapons, as long as you have used them in the original world, so if you have any conflicts in the group in the future, just start the fight, don't be shy. Yes. Saitama's originally slightly empty eyes had a gleam of light, and then he turned to look at Estes. You look strong. But you look very ordinary. Estes looked at the man in front of him with an undisguised disappointment in his eyes. A bald head that looks so ordinary? And he didn't have any weapons on his body, only wearing a yellow and funny tights and slightly loose rubber gloves. It doesn't look any different from ordinary people at all. To be honest, you've disappointed me utterly. Estes's mouth showed a trace of disdain, and then stretched out his hand. Don't waste my time. While speaking, a row of huge ice thorns drilled out from the ground under Estes, breaking the hard road into pieces. Each ice thorn was several meters wide. He rushed towards Saitama. Boom! The ice was like the jaws of a giant beast, swallowing Saitama in one bite. At this time, the temperature of this wide street had dropped to freezing point, and the surrounding houses were covered with frost. It made me look forward to it in vain. Who is next? Estes looked up at the others watching the battle, with a hideous smile on his face. And her eyes met with Fan Ma Yongjiro. Is there still such a terrible person in this world? Although Fan Ma Yongjiro had a very calm smile on his face, his heart was already full of excitement, tension, and other emotions. He is the strongest existence in the world he originally lived in, and no one can compare to him at all. Even shotgun bullets and even lightning cannot cause damage to him. This is due to his powerful physical strength. However, in the world of Saber-Tooth, there is no magic, and even Fan Ma Yujiro, who is known as the strongest creature on the surface, can't help but be a little surprised when he sees the power of Estes. His absolute self-confidence was shaken, but because he had the opportunity to fight against a powerhouse that he had never encountered before, he felt an unprecedented excitement. Tanjiro Kamado next to him was speechless in shock, and Bruce Wayne couldn't see his expression because he wore a black bat mask. His deep pupils were like cameras recording the battle in front of him. Hey, group owner, the battle is over, let me out quickly, don't waste time. Estes turned to Yadu and said. In addition to being forced to end by me, the duel can only be stopped if one side dies or admits defeat. Yadu said with a smile. What? After hearing Yadu's words, a look of shock appeared on Estes' face, and he hurriedly looked back at the huge ice thorns standing between the buildings. How could he survive? No matter who it is, I should have been torn to shreds by me. Yadu didn't speak anymore, just kept smiling. Sizzle. The sound of ice cracking came from where Saitama was just now. Immediately afterwards, the row of huge ice thorns shattered like dominoes, and Saitama walked over the shards of ice, intact. What? Estes was a little shocked at first, but then the raised corners of her mouth showed that she was looking forward to the scene. Chapter 7. It's a bit cold, ah. Saitama wiped his nose and fixed his eyes on Est's face. A little cold. Est's originally good face suddenly turned into a distorted and exaggerated smile, the corners of his mouth rose in an exaggerated range, and every cell was shaking with excitement. Just now, it was just a small test of the attack of the bull's knife. The next game will be a little more interesting. As soon as the voice fell, a huge icicle rose under Est's feet, lifting her into the air more than 10 meters high, then, with a wave of her hand, countless dagger-like icicles gradually formed in the air and shot towards Saitama like a downpour. But Saitama didn't even make a move to evade, just watched the approach of these ice picks motionless. Countless ice picks hit Saitama's body, but the ice pick that was supposed to pierce the human body shattered into ice after touching Saitama's body. Even the ice of Est's couldn't penetrate Saitama's body. Interesting, give me a little surprise. Est's expression became more sinister, and she had realized that the bald man in front of her was by no means an ordinary person, so she was also ready to use more powerful moves. General Binglan. Est's raised his hands, and the originally blue sky became cloudy in an instant, first a feather-like light snow, and then it turned into an overwhelming hailstorm. Huge hailstones fell on the ground like meteorites, and they smashed the buildings on both sides. Even cement and concrete could not withstand such a violent attack. It also shattered the glass of the building with a raging wind like a roar of a beast. In an instant, this large block was pulled into an ice age by Estes. This is the power of Estes, the strongest emperor in the world of Crimson Eyes. However, Saitama, still standing motionless in front of Estes, didn't mean to take cover at all, and even his expression did not change in the slightest. Are you still pretending to be calm? I hope you can prolong this short-lived fun a little bit. Estes looked down at each other, his face full of condescending pride. In the original world, she also saw countless people who were bluffing in front of her like Saitama, but after seeing the true power of Estes, they were either killed on the spot, or they were scared shitless and knelt down. Beg for mercy. It's a little cold, let's end it quickly, I don't want to catch a cold at this time. Saitama's expression became serious in an instant, his body leaned down slightly, his arms moved back, and he made a move to prepare to punch. I'm going to be a little more serious, serious punch. At the same time, Saitama threw a fist with his right hand. The terrifying fist wind collided with the gust of wind caused by Estes, and the surrounding buildings that were already riddled with holes were turned into ruins. The power of this tornado was even greater, and it quickly swallowed the cold current and became a part of it, rushing in the opposite direction. The falling hail was shattered before it touched the ground, and the dark clouds in the sky were torn apart, revealing a blue sky. Estes was stunned, and quickly created a huge ice wall several meters thick to block in front of him. But no use at all. This wall-like ice is as fragile as a thin piece of white paper in front of Saitama's fist wind, and it is not vulnerable at all, while Estes' body is directly swallowed by the fist wind, as if by an invisible giant. He grabbed it with his hand, then threw it into the air hundreds of meters deep, and then fell down freely. Estes was lying on the ground like a broken puppet, his limbs twisted at an impossible angle, and the broken bones pierced his skin. The victory and defeat are already divided. Yadu said. Estes, how do you feel? Yadu asked. The duel was over at this time, the temporary duel space disappeared, and everyone in the group returned to the chat interface. Estes didn't know what to say for a while, but the moment she was hit by Saitama Fist Kaze, she felt the approach of death. This is a sense of fear, a sense of frustration that Estes has never experienced. And a strong sense of pleasure. She finally met a powerful enemy who could defeat her, which she couldn't find in her original world. Moreover, when he experienced the duel just now, the pain on his body was very real, but at this time, there was not even a little bit of damage on Estes, as if nothing happened just now. The Empire's strongest, it's a very strange feeling, like a dream. Yadu, so Saitama, how about you? Bald Cape Man, this guy named Ace Hess feels normal, it's all over with one punch, although it may be a little bit stronger than the previous weirdo, but I don't actually feel any big difference. The Empire's strongest? It's Estes. Estes sighed, she didn't think that she would have a day when her name could not be remembered by the other party. Moreover, this guy called Bald Cape Man could say such arrogant words so easily, as if he was insignificant at all. Is this guy a monster? Chapter 8. What a horrible monster! Looking at the nickname Bald Cape Man, Estes couldn't help swallowing. Who would have thought that this man, who is very ordinary from his nickname to his appearance, and even a hint of wretchedness, would have such a powerful strength? I have a ghost sister, both of you are very strong. The strongest creature on the surface, however, there will always be a stronger existence. Fanma Yujiro smiled. He had already seen the power of Saitama. This is the power that makes this monster who is proud of his own body amazed. And Fanma Yongjiro naturally wants to have the same strength as the other party. The strongest creature on the surface, at Bald Cape Man, how did you cultivate? This kind of power is not innate, right? I have a ghost sister, I'm also curious about why Mr. Bald is so powerful, and I want to be as powerful as Mr. Bald. After witnessing the battle between Estes and Saitama, Tanjiro Kamado was also full of longing for such a powerful power. If he also possessed such power, he would surely be able to destroy evil spirits easily. In his world, there are powerful creatures called ghosts, possessing undead bodies and exaggerated powers, which can only be completely killed by beheading them with a sun knife or sunlight. Bald Cape Man, hey, don't call me Mr. Bald. I'm just bald, not bald. I have a ghost sister, I'm so sorry. Mr. Bald. Bald Cape Man. Saitama sighed deeply, and had to feel how this group member called I have a ghost sister was so stubborn, but he quickly adjusted his mood. Bald Cape Man, this power was acquired through 3 years of hellish training. After seeing Saitama's words, the rest of the people were instantly filled with curiosity. What the hell are you talking about training? They asked together. Seeing the fierce curiosity of the group members, Yadu couldn't help but smile. Because he knew that these guys would never trust Saitama's training methods. Bald Cape Man, cultivation is very hard. Everyone couldn't wait, speak quickly. Bald Cape Man, 100 push UPS, 100 sit UPS, 100 squats, 10 kilometers run every day. The rest? This is too simple, right? It is impossible for anyone to believe this, especially Fanma Yongjiro, who is also a physical strength type. The training he has experienced will only be much more than what Saitama has done. Although his Fanma Yongjiro gained terrifying power through such training, he was really nothing compared to Saitama. Moreover, Saitama just now obviously did not use 100% of his power. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, at Yadu, the group owner, is what he said true. Batman, who had never spoken much, finally spoke, because he remembered that it was mentioned in the group description that Yadu, the group leader, knew the information of every group member. Yes, what Saitama said is true. Yadu nodded. Then, please, ask the group owner, is there any other way to become stronger? Tanjiro Kamado asked. As a member of the ghost killing team, Kamado Tanjiro has to undergo very rigorous training every day, and it will never be easier than Saitama. Of course there is. Yadu said. Please open the points mall again, this is the place to buy time travel cards, but if you drag the page down, there are more things that can be exchanged here. While Yadu was talking, he was also browsing his points store. In the points mall, not only the time travel card, but also more abilities can be purchased, or one's own strength can be improved. Yadu's eyes narrowed. Power of the Void. Points required to increase corrosive power, 100,000. Points required to increase divinity, 10. It is relatively easy to understand to increase the power of corrosion. After all, the essence of the power of the void is to corrode the target, either to absorb all the power of the opponent, or to convert it into one's own subordinates, similar to the existence of one's own family, which is equivalent to the relationship between the old gods and the Void Lord. But what exactly is this divinity? This term is too general. Different works have the concept of divinity. Does it refer to the degree of one's own strength, or only the height of one's own existence? For example, in the setting of SCP, divinity refers to a powerful supernatural entity, or a high-level reality bender. Yadu couldn't figure it out himself. What exactly did this divinity refer to? I have an upgrade option here. Tanjiro Kamado said excitedly. It seems to be strengthening the full concentration breathing method. It requires 1000 points. If I log in and get 50 points every day on average, I can upgrade in about 20 days. Do you only want 1000 a clock? Esdras said. Here I am. It takes 10,000 points to strengthen the damage and range of General Binglan, which is 10 times as much as yours. It seems that everyone's upgrade options vary from person to person. However, if you just sign in to get points, this speed it's too slow. Chapter 9. If you just sign in, the speed of getting points is too slow. Estes complained. Even if you can get 100 points every day, it will take 100 days to level up. This kind of efficiency is too low. Batman also nodded, there should be other ways to get points. That's right. Yadu nodded. According to the group description, the system will distribute tasks from time to time, and other members may be required to go to a certain world. If you complete the task, you will get points. Not only system tasks, it seems that reward tasks can also be distributed among group members. Then how can these system tasks be triggered? Tanjiro Kamado asked. I just took over this exchange group not long ago, and I don't know much. Yadu shook his head. Really? Kamado Tanjiro shook his head in disappointment. If I can, I want to accumulate points faster. I want to become stronger as soon as possible, and I want to find a way to turn Nezuko back into a human. Return to human. The other members of the group were puzzled, and then Tanjiro Kamado told the story of their world. Just as Kamado Tanjiro spoke, the system suddenly popped up a line of information. Task release. Mission description, help Tanjiro Kamado to turn her sister Nezuko Kamado back into a human. Mission reward, 5000 points. Note, points are distributed according to the level of contribution. When traveling to another world, the flow rate of the world where the group members are originally will be suspended. Is it such a coincidence? Is the task based on the strong desire of the group members? Yadu looked at the task prompt bar and fell into deep thought. And after crossing, the original world time will be suspended, which is quite convenient. After seeing this task, Kamado Tanjiro was stunned at first, and then a little excited and joyful. His sister Nezuko really has a chance to turn back into a human. Tanjiro Kamado already knew that each member of the group has powerful powers, and if there is their help, there may be a chance to make his sister return to her original state. The other members of the surrounding group were all focused on the task reward. 5000 points. This is not a small number. The Empire's strongest, 5000 points. If I complete 2 missions, I can upgrade my power. After seeing the gap in strength between himself and Saitama, Estes now wants to improve his strength as soon as possible. The strongest creature on the surface, stop dreaming, and you can't get all the points. This is allocated according to the level of contribution. How can it be swallowed by you? It's not bad that you can get a fraction by then. The Empire's strongest? Hey? Interesting, so do you think your contribution can surpass mine? Bald Cape Man, will there be powerful guys in other worlds? Saitama doesn't care about reward points at all. In his eyes, the chance to learn from the strong is more important than anything else. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, wait. Bruce Wayne realized something and continued. Traveling to other worlds requires a time travel card, but the current points are too few to buy a time travel card. Right. Only at this time did Estes react, and quickly opened the points mall, looking at the time travel card column. Crossing card. Item description: after use, you can travel to the world where the designated group member is located. Note: crossing must be approved by the group owner, and the item can be transferred to other group members. Points required: 1000 points. Esdras carefully browsed the lines of text, and couldn't help frowning. Isn't this price really an extra zero? If you don't have points, you can't buy time travel cards. If you can't buy time travel cards, you can't go to the world to complete system tasks. If you can't complete tasks, you can't get points. This is a vicious circle. Hey! Kamatu Tanjiro sighed. It seems that it will take a long time before Nezuko turns back to human. Look, there is a line of small print below the precautions. At this moment, Bruce Wayne, with his keen observation, discovered something. When the task is released, the group owner can traverse without using a traversal card. Bald Cape Man, this is too unfair. The strongest creature on the surface, is this the privilege of being a group leader? The Empire is the strongest, damn, the 5000 points you got are gone. The Dark Knight who never sleeps, as a group leader, it is reasonable to have some privileges. The biggest characteristic of Bruce Wayne is that his mind is extremely meticulous. Although he cannot participate in this mission to obtain points, he can also know from the side how powerful Yadu, the group leader, is. Since he can become the leader of the communication group, he naturally possesses some unique abilities. I have a ghost sister, at Yadu, group owner, will you choose to carry out this mission? Tanjiro Kamado was a little nervous. On the one hand, he didn't know what Yadu's strength was, and on the other hand, he was very eager to make his sister recover as soon as possible. As a group owner, it is what you should do to help group members solve their worries and problems. Points are only secondary. Yadu said with a smile. Let's go now. Chapter 10. Start crossing. Yadu activated the traversal function of the infinite dimensional communication group, and in the blink of an eye came to a small room. Is this the Neon Kingdom of the Taisho period? The rooms are decorated in old Japanese style. Through the thin paper windows, the bustling lights on the street can be seen flickering, and the lively voices are coming from outside. Group owner. A red-haired teenager leaned back against the wall, his face full of surprise. The kitchen door Tanjiro. Next to him stood a girl in a kimono, with jet-black long hair, and her eyes that were as clear as gems, casting a suspicious gaze, but she was holding a bamboo tube in her mouth. She is Kamado Tanjiro's younger sister, Nezuko. A few years ago, the kitchen door family was tragically bloodbathed by Oni Wusuji. Only Nezuko survived, but she was contaminated by Oni Wusuji's blood and turned into a ghost. The ghost dance Suji no Miserable is the big boss of this world, the ancestor of ghosts, who can convert humans into ghosts, and can freely control the actions of each ghost. Ghost. Beside them, there were two other teenagers. One had yellow hair, the snot bubbles from his nostrils burst out of great surprise, his body trembled, and he curled up in the corner of the room. The other man was wearing a pig's head mask, holding a pitted sun blade in his hand, aiming at Yadu, but his arms were trembling slightly, and his half-naked body was covered in cold sweat. The two of them are my wife, Zenitsu, and Inashuk, the two members of the protagonist group. However, in the face of Yadu who suddenly appeared out of thin air, the two who didn't know the existence of the exchange group were already frightened. No, he's not a ghost. Tanjiro Kamado immediately stopped the two who were about to attack. He's the group leader. He's here to help us. Lord. My wife, Zenitsu, and Inashuk Suihira were dumbfounded and had no idea what Tanjiro Kamado was talking about. Hello, I have a ghost sister, or use your real name, Tanjiro Kamado. Yadu greeted the other party with a smile. Hello, group leader. Tanjiro Kamado immediately adjusted his posture and bowed politely to the other party. I didn't expect this communication group to be so powerful. It can really achieve world travel. The hard-working group owner has come here from a long distance. Just call me Yadu in this world, otherwise it will feel very strange to hear you calling me the group leader in the ears of outsiders, and it is not hard for me to come to this world, that is, in a blink of an eye. Yadu said. Group master? World? What are you talking about? The other two couldn't understand the conversation between Tanjiro Kamado and Yadu at all. That's it, I just suddenly got a chat group. Immediately afterwards, Tanjiro Kamado introduced the chat group system he had just encountered to his companions. After all, outsiders could not perceive the existence of chat groups, and when using chat groups, the time in his own world was quite different. Stationary. This. My wife, Zenitsu, and Inashuk Suihira, still looked confused, and occasionally glanced at Yadu from the corner of their eyes. They couldn't understand what Tanjiro Kamado was talking about. So that's it, Mr. Yadu is our group leader, and he came to the world to help Nezuko turn back into a human being. Tanjiro Kamado said, there was an undisguised excitement in his words. All in all, is he the god you summoned? My wife Zenitsu concluded that although he did not fully understand what Tanjiro Kamado was talking about, he quickly came to a closer judgment. And Yadu's appearance out of thin air is really no different from a god. When Tanjiro Kamado heard the other party's words, he was stunned for a moment, and then shook his head quickly. No, not the summoned god, Mr. Yadu, he is. You're pretty much right, Shanyi. Yadu interjected at this time and said that it was too complicated to ask Tanjiro Kamado to explain it again, so it would be better to just say it like this, but it was simpler. How did you know my name? Did Tanjiro tell you? My wife Zenitsu asked in surprise. No, I haven't had time to say it yet. Tanjiro Kamado waved his hand to deny it, and confirmed in his heart that the group owner knew the world information of each member in the group description. Because I'm a god, of course I know everything. Yadu said with a smile, then stretched out his finger to the crowd. This girl is Tanjiro's younger sister Nezuko, and this one with a wild boar hood is Inashuk Suihira. Oh my god, it's really a god. I really know the name of this king. The mouth-flat Inashuk also exclaimed. Lord God, can I make a wish to gain the peace of mind from all the girls? My wife Shanyi knelt directly in front of Yadu, her eyes full of piety. No. Yadu smiled and pulled him up. This time I came to the world to fulfill Tanjiro's wish. Damn Tanjiro! You don't tell us any good things you wish to make to the gods. My wife, Zenitsu, stuck out her tongue at Tanjiro Kamado, then turned her head to look at Yadu. Then may I ask, Lord God, what is Tanjiro's wish? Let his sister be human again. Chapter 11. Turn Nezuko back into a human. My wife Zenitsu exclaimed in surprise. Kamado Tanjiro also asked. Excuse me, Mr. Yadu, is there any way you can make Nezuko back into a human? The boy's tone was eager, and his heart longed for a positive answer. Yes, but experiments are still needed. Yadu nodded and said. He is ready to use his power of the void. Although Yadu knew that he had only acquired a small part of the power of the void, and there was still a long way to go to reach the level of the true Void Lord, at this stage he at least possessed the power of corruption. Void is like a virus that can corrupt the body and even the heart of living beings, and if it reaches a higher realm, it can even corrode the planet. If you use the power of the void to corrupt Yuduzi, maybe the more powerful power of the void can accurately destroy the blood of Oniwasuji in her body and turn her back into an ordinary person. But after all, Yadu has just gained power not long ago. Although he can feel that his power is definitely much stronger than that of ordinary ghosts, he does not know how much his power has reached, nor does he know how much he controls the corruption of the void. How, so definitely can't use the power of the void directly on you Bean. He needs to experiment with ghosts. Do you need any experimental materials? My wife Zenitsu patted her chest confidently. I will do my best to help you find it. It is my duty to help Nezuko turn back into a human being, and she will definitely think that I am a charming and responsible man. I want a ghost. With a smile on his face, Yadu said calmly, as if it was a trivial matter. Ghost. We are just going to perform a mission, and we may encounter a ghost. My wife Shanyi's face darkened in an instant, but soon he raised his head again, with a confident smile on his face. However, this time, with the help of the gods, and Mr. Purgatory in charge. No matter what kind of evil ghost, it will definitely not be our opponent. Purgatory? Purgatory Kyojuro? Yadu immediately knew what the mission of the four-man squad was about to perform. Are you going to investigate the infinite train? Yadu asked. As expected of the gods, you know everything. There was a big smile on my wife's face. Is it such a dangerous incident in the first place? Yadu thought to himself. In the infinite train, Kamatu Tanjiro will not only encounter the nightmare of the second string whose strength has been greatly increased, but also encounter the super strength winding umbrella Uoza, and the pillar of flame purgatory apricot shower will also die in this battle. However, with the intervention of Yadu, who possesses the power of the void, the story will be turned upside down. It's getting late, everyone, let's go. In the evening, everyone had already boarded the train. The whistle sounded, and the huge steam-driven engine drove the wheels to turn, driving the steel beast that was more than 100 meters long. Amazing! Zwipi Inashuk felt the vibration under his feet, and then looked out the window, watching the scenery outside regressing at a faster and faster speed. So fast, so fast! Kamatu Tanjiro also leaned out of the window, admiring the scenery outside the window. This was also his first train ride. It's evening and the sun hasn't quite set yet, so you beans still need to curl up in the wooden box. The sky outside the window was a dim yellow, as if a flame was burning in the clouds. However, the fire was about to go out, and the long night was coming soon. Lord God, do you have such a train in your god realm? My wife Zenitsu asked curiously. Of course we have trains there, but not with steam, but with electricity and magnetism, and they don't even touch the rails. Yadu said with a smile that the development of science and technology 100 years later is so rapid that the maglev train is something that people in this era can't even think about. Not touching the rails? Isn't that just flying? My wife Zenitsu's eyes gleamed, full of curiosity about Yadu's living environment. In a sense, it is, but we really have vehicles that can soar in the sky, higher than the clouds. Wow! Another point. Yadu continued, then tapped my wife Shanyi on the head. Don't forget, don't call me Lord God outside, call me Mr. Yadu. Understood Mr. Yadu. My wife Zenitsu said respectfully to Yadu immediately, then turned to look at Tanjiro. Tanjiro, that Mr. Purgatory is one of the 9 pillars, do you remember his appearance? My wife Zenitsu raised her head and asked. A guy who can see the difference at a glance? Kamatu Tanjiro replied. Mr. Purgatory has a different flavor and a hairstyle. Delicious. A heroic sound broke out in the carriage, and it was not difficult to determine who the source of the sound was. The man who was speaking was holding a bowl of train lunch and shoved the meal into his mouth. He is Yansu, Purgatory Kyojuro. Chapter 12. Delicious. At this moment, the man named Purgatory Kyojuro, who was Yansu of the ghost-killing team, was enjoying the food provided by the train. Mr. Purgatory. Kamatu Tanjiro greeted softly. Good to eat. Only then did the man realize the arrival of his teammates and stood up excitedly. Long time no see. Kitchen boy. His voice was loud and full of power, as if there was an inexhaustible amount of energy in his body. Purgatory Kyojuro's body is not tall, but it is sturdy to the naked eye. He wears a white cloak with a flame-like pattern at the end. His hair is also the color of flames. With the shaking of his body and the train, his hair is like a flame that grows stronger and stronger in the wind. His eyebrows are like sharp arrows, and the sight projected by his orange-red pupils is like the rising sun. Generally hot, even if he is just standing in front of everyone, others can feel his enthusiasm. Purgatory Kyojuro's eyes swept across the other people. Although he had never seen my wife Zenitsuo and Inashuk, I could guess from their clothing and the saber around their waist that they were members of the demon-killing team. And his eyes finally stopped on Yedu. "Sir, who are you?" Seeing Yedu and his subordinates acting together, he was naturally suspicious. "This is a goddess." Before my wife Zenitsu could finish speaking, Tanjiro Kamado rushed forward and covered his companion's mouth with his hand. "What's wrong?" Such behavior made Purgatory Kyojuro even more confused. "Hello Mr. Purgatory, I have long admired the name." Yedu greeted the other party with a polite smile on his face. "My name is Yedu, I'm a folk ghost hunter. I met Tanjiro and his group by chance, so I chose to go with my companions and come to help Mr. Purgatory." "A folk ghost hunter." Purgatory Kyojuro put his right hand down and rubbed his chin lightly, and fell into thinking, but after less than a second, he became the cheerful and unrestrained before. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Yedu. Please advise." "Thank you very much for assisting us in our mission this time." Purgatory Kyojuro is a straightforward person, even a bit rough, so he didn't think about it. He quickly accepted Yedu's participation, and they chatted together quickly. The roar of the train was echoing, and the slight vibration on the ground told the passengers that the train was moving forward, and the whistle sounded from time to time became the background sound for all of them to chat. The sky was getting darker, the sun had completely disappeared, and the narrow space of the train made people feel groggy, and Nezuko crawled out of the wooden box. "Everyone pick up the ticket and come to the car." The train attendant shouted, but his voice was weak, and he seemed a little haunted. "Mr. Yedu, Mr. Purgatory, this person smells a little weird, he is a ghost." Kamado Tanjiro said worriedly. The moment he finished speaking, the train attendant's body began to twist and deform, and soon turned into a disgusting ghost. "Hide this huge body, it must be blood ghost art. The smell is quite difficult to detect, but since you dare to show your fangs to innocent people, this bright red sun blade will definitely make you ashes." Purgatory Kyojuro took out the sun wheel sword. His weapon was also as red as his eyes. There seemed to be flames dancing on the tip of the sword, and his body erupted with murderous aura like a heat wave. "Wait a moment, Mr. Purgatory." Yedu stretched out his hand and stopped the other party's movements, because the ghost that appeared in front of everyone was just an illusion, and the real man behind the scenes was the next nightmare. Those who came into contact with him fell into a deep sleep. "Mr. Yedu, what do you mean?" Purgatory Kyojuro had doubts written all over his face. "Don't let him touch you." Yedu's expression became serious, and then shouted. "Stop pretending. Come out." Yedu's eyes were fixed on the flight attendant in front of him, but his eyes were not focused on the other person, but penetrated into the farther carriage. "The next nightmare, reveal your true body, your hypnotism has no effect on me. Do you know my name?" A person pushed open the door of the carriage and walked in front of the crowd. His eyes are blue, the character's winding and one embedded in the pupils have a hint of evil charm, the blood vessels on his face are squirming like earthworms, and the sound from his mouth gives a strange sense of laziness, as if just listening to him speak and slowly fall asleep. In the train, the other passengers had already been hit by the nightmare blood ghost technique and fell into a deep sleep. "I know not only your name, but also your abilities and what happened to you." The corners of Yedu's mouth rose slightly. "The rest of the strings were wiped out, and only you survived and got his blood, so your power will be stronger." Yedu's words changed Nightmare's expression slightly, and the corners of his stiff mouth twitched slightly, but he immediately laughed hysterically. Interesting, what else? You want them to go to sleep, and then use the deceived humans to enter their dreams and destroy their spiritual check. The spiritual core is something that only appears in people's dreams. It is similar to thinking or spirit. Once it is destroyed, people will lose their will and thinking and become a walking corpse. This is the purpose of nightmares. Chapter 13. Who are you? Nightmare's expression still had a smile on his face, and the man in front of him was far less simple than he imagined. Mr. Yadu, although it is at a critical juncture now, how on earth do you know these things? This should be far from what a folk ghost hunter can know. Purgatory Kyojuro asked suspiciously. Because Mr. Yadu is a god. My wife Zenitsu replied almost subconsciously. What nonsense are you talking about? Tanjiro Kamato quickly tried to cover my wife Zenitsu's mouth. I don't have to hide it now. Yadu said with a smile. As Shanyi said, I'm a god from another world, but I'll talk about the specific issues later. For now, we should concentrate on dealing with the guy in front of us. It is good. Purgatory Kyojuro nodded, pulled out the sun blade, and focused his attention on the nightmare in front of him. God? It's ridiculous. There are no gods in this world. Nightmare put his hands in front of him, gently stroked his lips with his fingers, his voice was disgusting. But it seems that you can bring me a lot of happiness too. Happiness? Yadu smiled contemptuously. I don't think you are very happy, what you said is just covering up your inner fear. What did you say? Nightmare's smile gradually solidified on his face. If you're really not afraid, why don't you dare to reveal your true body? Instead, you only dare to meet us with a lump of meat. What? Everyone around, including Purgatory Kyojuro, shouted in surprise. Isn't it his real body in front of him? But Nightmare, who was standing in front of everyone, was silent, with a stiff smile on his face. The real him at this time is combining with the whole train. Yadu said with a smile, and the Purgatory Kyojuro behind him picked up the sun wheel sword and slashed at Nightmare, waving the sword energy like a heat wave. The light of the knife swayed, and the head fell to the ground. Nightmare's head rolled on the ground. But he still kept laughing. Did you even know this? It's really fun, I can't wait to play games with you. The rolled head actually spread out countless flesh and blood from the fracture, sticking tightly to the ground of the train. The members of the ghost-killing squad were stunned. Now you are all in my belly, and all the passengers have become my hostages. The sound came from all over the train, the windows, the ceiling, the ground. At this time the whole train had become the body of a nightmare. What? Such a development surpassed Purgatory Kyojuro's expectations, but there was no timid expression on his face. What an awesome guy! Does that mean we have to protect all the passengers before we figure out a way to escape? But there are too many passengers. Kamato Tanjiro looked around, and in just a moment, all the other passengers around him were hypnotized and fell asleep, as did the flight attendant just now. You can't protect yourself, and you can't escape with your wings. Let me digest them together. The terror of the nightmare echoed in a cold and sickly voice. At the same time, countless pieces of flesh poured out like a tide from the cracks in the ground and walls, and the flesh without skin turned into tentacles and arms, and slapped at everyone. The members of the ghost-killing team were not the only targets, and even fell into the sleeping innocent masses are also within the attack of these disgusting limbs. Protect the people. Purgatory Kyojuro made a judgment in the fastest time. His sun knife burst into flames, and flames spewed out from the blade like a blade. Under the hot energy, the blade flashed and cut off all the pieces of meat. But the flesh and blood were still continuously squeezed out of the gap, and countless arms and tentacles formed waves to hit them. Even if the first wave is blocked, the following waves will only get bigger and bigger. There are 8 carriages in the train, you watch the first 3 carriages, and we will protect the passengers in the last 5 carriages. Purgatory Kyojul Longtai shouted, although he looks like fire, but his heart is very calm. No need. He turned his head and looked at the man who said those two words. Yadu. Mr. Yadu, now is not the time to be joking. Give it to me. Yadu smiled slightly. Purgatory Xing Shulang carefully looked at Yadu in front of him, and felt that the other party was definitely not bluffing, and other people just called Yadu a god, and he himself affirmed this statement, so how much power does Yadu have? Another wave of flesh and blood slapped, covering almost the entire carriage. And Yadu's face was very relaxed, without the slightest fear. Now is the time to experiment with the power of the void. Although he can't completely distort reality like the Void Lord, he should now have some of the power of the ancient gods. At least he has the ability to corrupt. The wave of flesh and blood almost touched Yadu's face, but suddenly stopped. Corrupt. The flesh and blood in the front section suddenly turned dark purple, even a little black, and countless tentacles emerged from the flesh and blood body split from the nightmare, covered with strange eyeballs, spinning and squirming rapidly. The area covered by dark purple is getting bigger and bigger, and it is spreading to the place where it grows at an alarming rate, like an unstoppable plague. Chapter 14. Yadu used the power of the void to corrupt the flesh and blood body spread from the nightmare into his own weapon, and the deformed tentacles twisted like an evil god. Is this the power of the gods? My wife, Zenitsu, was already scared and hid behind the others. It's not quite what I imagined. In the hearts of most people, the power of the gods must be sacred and full of light. But Yadu's is completely different, dark, corrosive, tentacles. No matter how you look at it, this is the ability of the evil god. Compared with the nightmare, my wife Shanyi even thinks Yadu's ability is more terrifying, but this is completely different from Yadu's appearance and previous behavior. Maybe there is an error in my cognition of the gods. The same is true of Tanjiro Kamatu, who was standing on the side. He had already guessed the abilities of all the group members in his heart and prepared himself, but he never expected that Yadu's power would be so weird. Although Purgatory Kyojuro, who was a flame pillar, looked very calm, he was actually shocked by Yadu's power. This twisted and even evil limb made him even unacceptable for a while. What kind of power is this? Purgatory Xingjulan swallowed, facing such an amazing scene, he had no room to intervene at all. The speed of corruption is very fast. In just a few seconds, the mountains of flesh and blood created by the blood ghost technique in this carriage have all been corrupted by Yadu, leaving only the tentacles and eyeballs that symbolize the power of the void. The void has no beginning and no end, and the void consumes everything. What is this? Even a nightmare with a perverted and distorted personality has a huge fear in his heart after facing this more terrifying power. This is a feeling he has never felt even in the presence of Ani Wasuji. I could have a hunch that I would be skinned and dismantled by this terrifying force, then devoured, and transformed into a terrifying existence that could not be described in words. He was afraid. The void will make surrounding creatures fearful, and corruption will increase this effect. The severe pain of the corruption was unbearable for Nightmare, so he could only cut off his body immediately, trying to separate the body part corrupted by the power of the void because his body was completely fused with the train, so he broke it at the connection between Yadu's carriage and other parts of the train. Yadu and the others will be separated first, and then we will find a way. But at the moment when the carriage was cut off, countless purple tentacles protruded from the walls of the corrupted carriage, emitting a strange gas. They were like countless poisonous snakes, twisting their smooth bodies and biting hard. Living in adjacent carriages makes it impossible for the trains to separate. And the effect of corruption also spread rapidly at this moment, and it was about to spread to the front of the car in just a few seconds. The eyeballs and tentacles in the corrupted area are also equivalent to a part of Yadu's body, so Yadu can also perceive things around him through them. Found it? Yadu smiled slightly. Ghost is a special kind of creature. Although it is not invulnerable, it can recover from any damage, even if it is cut in half or pierced through the heart. Except that the cervical vertebra was cut off by the sun blade. That's where the ghosts are. Came to the front cab of the train. There are lumps of flesh that look like tumors, obviously there to protect something. There is the cervical vertebra of the nightmare. After he merged with the train, his body structure became the same as that of the train, and the cab was his head. The flesh grows countless hands, like weeds swaying in the wind, trying to tear off the corrupted parts of the body. This kind of behavior is tantamount to setting fire to the upper body. The power of the void spreads in the depths the moment it touches the flesh and blood. The large piece of sarcoma just now has become a pile of black and purple unknown objects. A strange smell, accompanied by the corpse stench and blood on the ghost, filled the narrow space. It was the piercing scream of a nightmare that echoed in the train. The burning sensation caused by this corrupting force was far beyond his imagination, and under the corruption, his torso could not heal itself. Is this your joy? Yadu sneered with a smile, but the pain of corruption prevented Nightmare from replying to his words. But after all, he is a ghost who has won the trust of Oni Maisuji, and he is also one of the most powerful beings in the next string. Nightmare will never surrender to humans. Under Yadu, bodies made of flesh and blood grew again in places that were not completely covered by corruption, but this time they did not form limbs, but instead grew numerous eyes. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. This is his blood ghost technique, which can make those who see these eyes fall asleep. But Yadu was not affected, just tilted his head slightly, and used the power of corruption to drown all the missing gaps. But at this time, he didn't have the heart to think about it. Why doesn't it work? Are you not human? Nightmare cried out in surprise. In a way, not really. Yadu said with a smile. Void and even dreams can be polluted. The tentacles of the cab began to twist and merge, turning into a sturdy arm that directly lifted the floor. A huge white bone lay under the floor. It's time to start further experiments. The smile on Yadu's face didn't change. The void hand gripped Nightmare's cervical spine tightly. Chapter 15. The big hand formed by the power of the void tightly grasped Nightmare's cervical vertebrae, and the pain of the rupture caused Nightmare to make a heart-piercing scream. Don't worry, I won't kill you for the time being, but at least cooperate with me to experiment. Yadu said with a smile. He is preparing to try to use the power of the void to corrupt the ghost cells in Nightmare's body to see if he can turn him back into a human. Mr. Yadu. Kamatu Tanjiro said anxiously. Faced with such a level of ghost. Is it really possible to do it? Yes, but this is a test of the degree of control over the power. If the power is not enough, it will have no effect. If the power is too strong, it may turn him into a more frightening monster than a ghost. Yadu said lightly. Mr. Yadu, are you trying to turn a ghost into a human? After hearing the conversation between the two, Purgatory Kyojuro also came over and asked curiously. That's right, I'm trying to use my powers to destroy Kaibatsuji's cells, so maybe I can turn them back into humans. Yadu nodded. I'm going to start. The nightmare began to struggle violently, and the train began to vibrate wildly. He wanted to derail the train, and if it did, the consequences would be disastrous. At the same time, Yadu manipulated the power of the void, wrapping the entire train like a layer of skin, and then countless thick and huge limbs grew on this layer of dark purple skin, turning the train into a multi-legged one. Lizard. They plunged hard into the ground, rubbed the ground into rows of ravines, and finally stopped the train. Damn, what kind of monster are you? Nightmare hysterical shouts echoed in the train, but only Yadu responded gently. It's a god. Purgatory Kyojuro, who was standing behind Yadu, seemed a little helpless and didn't know what to do. After hesitating for a while, he retracted the Japanese sword into the scabbard. Although the power Yadu showed just now has completely exceeded the understanding of Purgatory Kyojuro, and even made him feel afraid in his heart for a long time, but he also knew that Yadu was really helping them, and there was no malicious intention. I also believe in the so-called gods just now. Yadu injected the power of the void into Nightmare's body, and the latter's body was stripped from the train. The flesh and blood around the wall began to fall off, gradually condensing on the spine under the ground, and the originally huge cervical vertebra began to shrink rapidly. The surrounding tentacles also swarmed up, wrapping the gradually shrinking spine of the Nightmare together with the gradually gathering minced meat, like a budding flower. Strange sounds are produced in the tentacles that are surrounded by each other. It seems to be the roar of some kind of beast, and it is like the scream of a person. It is also accompanied by the whistling wind. It seems that in this small crowded and humid space, there is another one. The world is tightly connected to it. Yadu is methodically controlling the rate of corruption. The power of the ancient gods comes from the void, no wonder the effects are so similar. He thought to himself in his heart, if the power of corruption is improved, to what extent will this power reach? If the divinity is elevated, to what extent will it be reached? Yadu shook his head and pulled his thoughts back. Now is not the time to think about these things. Almost. Yadu whispered. The cells of the ghost dance Suji have powerful infectious power and can convert ordinary people into ghosts, and if a person receives a large number of innocent cells in a short period of time, they may even become one because their body can't bear it. Pile of rancid mashed meat. But even such a cell is as fragile as a soft balloon in front of Yadu, it breaks when touched, and the power of the void easily penetrates into the cell, corrupts it, and completely destroys the structure of the cell. After a few minutes, there were no other noisy sounds in the tentacles, and only one person was groaning in pain. Ended. Yadu snapped his fingers gently, and the tentacles finally bloomed, and then the tentacles retreated to the surrounding like surprised poisonous snakes, and the surrounding corrupted areas also disappeared. Came out as if nothing had happened. In the position where the flower bud was just now, a man slumped on the ground, looking down at his hands in horror. Big, the power that the Lord gave me, the body that the Lord gave me. Give it back to me and give it back to me. At this time, the Nightmare was hysterically grabbing his body with his hands, and his nails were almost embedded under the skin, leaving bloodstains. He stood up with difficulty, trembling, as if a stone masonry was about to collapse, and a breeze would overturn him. Nightmare raised his fist and slammed hard on the wall of the train, without causing any damage to the opponent's body. Instead, he could only make himself scream hysterically because of the pain in his hand. Even Yadu and his group, who were a few cars behind, could clearly hear the screams of Nightmare's incompetence and fury, and the other passengers who had fallen asleep because of Nightmare blood ghost art gradually woke up from their dreams and slowly woke up. Slowly opened his eyes. Let's go and see how this guy is doing. Yadu smiled slightly and walked towards the cab with the others. Chapter 16. Because in order to prevent the Nightmare from derailing the train before, Yadu used the power of the void to forcibly stop the train. Yadu and his party walked into the cab, and they had become a nightmare for mortals. After seeing Yadu's appearance, they immediately raised their fists and smashed them at the opponent. Stop it for me. Purgatory Kyojuro, who was standing aside, grabbed his fist with lightning speed, and then twisted his arm, dislocating the opponent's joint, and suppressing the Nightmare under him. There really is no ghost's power. His strength is far inferior to that of an ordinary person. Purgatory Kyojuro said. Who are you? What kind of monster are you? Nightmare didn't pay attention to Purgatory Kyojuro at all. The two bloodshot eyes almost popped out of their sockets, and the projected line of sight was firmly on Yadu's body. You have blasphemed the power of that Lord. That Lord will tear you to pieces. Yes. The corner of Yadu's mouth rose slightly. Does the adult you're referring to mean the ghost dance Suji no miserable? I remember that ghosts are cursed, and mentioning his name will kill you, right? but now you are no longer a ghost, you can say it with confidence. You haven't seen the horror of that adult, he will take all of you humans. Then who do you think is more terrifying between me and Kaiwasuji Wume? Yadu said softly with a smile. The words were icy cold, as if the cold wind with countless sharp blades slashed the Nightmare's heart with thousands of knives. Nightmare was at a loss for words, because even though he witnessed Oniwasuji slaughtering the rest of the lower strings, he did not have any fear in his heart, but felt that this was something that could bring joy. However, he actually felt an unprecedented sense of fear in front of Yadu. In front of him, it seemed like a bottomless black hole that would devour everything, whether it was concrete or just abstract. Concepts will be annihilated by this guy called Yadu. Nightmare looked at Yadu's smiling face, and at the same time the eyes of the two met, a hallucination appeared in Nightmare's vision. He saw the endless dark universe, and the indescribable giant monster spread its tentacles, including the planet, and pinched it into powder. And above these huge monsters, there seems to be a black hole that can hold everything. No, that's not a black hole, it's an eye so huge that the entire galaxy can't hold it, and each planet is only as small as dust in front of it, and those terrifying monsters are just the creations of the owner of this eye that are not worth mentioning. The void has no beginning and no end, and the void consumes everything. Nightmare came back to his senses and found that what he was looking at was only Yadu's eyes, and the surroundings were still just ordinary train carriages. Was what he just saw just an illusion? No, that's absolutely not. Nightmare suddenly trembled violently, and even stretched out his dislocated arm that should not be able to move, and inserted his fingers into his eye sockets. Hateful. Several members of the ghost-killing team wanted to stop Nightmare's movements, but found that it was too late. Nightmare cut out his eyes, and even inserted it directly into his head, ending his own life. Looks like I'm still using too much force. Yadu patted his head embarrassingly, because the overflow of the power of the void caused Yadu to experience a horror that ordinary mortals could not bear. That is the corner of the void. I didn't leave a living mouth, or else I could get a little more information about the ghost dance Suji no miserable from his mouth. Tanjiro Kamatu said in dismay. Don't be discouraged, kitchen boy. Purgatory Kyojuro comforted. The ghosts of the 12th crescent moon are absolutely loyal to Wume, and even if they are captured alive, they will never reveal Wume's information. Purgatory Kyojuro immediately turned to look at Yadu. Thanks to Mr. Yadu this time, all the passengers are safe. Such power makes me feel ashamed. Purgatory Kyojuro paused for a moment. But Mr. Yadu, can you explain to me now what's going on? Of course Mr. Purgatory. Yadu said with a smile. I am a god who appeared in response to Tanjiro Kamatu's wish. Of course Yadu wouldn't explain to the other party about the infinite communication group, that would be too much trouble, so he continued to tell the story that he was a god following my wife's previous misunderstanding. My god, I didn't expect that there are really gods in the world. I always thought it was just a legend. Purgatory Kyojuro exclaimed, looking at Yadu with a look of piety and respect. Is there really a way to turn ghosts back into humans? Purgatory Kyojuro looked down at Nightmare's corpse. Although Nightmare was already dead, when he caught his fist, Purgatory Kyojuro didn't really feel the powerful power that the other party should have as a ghost. What is the result of Mr. Yadu's experiment? Kamatu Tanjiro was also a little worried and anxious. Not bad, at least my power can really kill innocent cells. This ghost has indeed turned into a human just now. I just need to control the power to be more precise. Yadu said confidently. About one more experiment, I can fully understand the method of turning a ghost into a human. Chapter 17. I still need to conduct an experiment. Yadu said to the person next to him. He has already carefully controlled the power of the void injected into Nightmare's body, but after all, this is Yadu's first use of power, and he doesn't know how much power is needed to perfectly turn a ghost back into a human, so a little bit excessive force, let Nightmare dream of a horrible scene that ordinary people can't bear and commit suicide. If Yadu adds even a little bit of void power, the Nightmare may even be transformed into a terrifying monster, and the consequences may be even more disastrous. However, this also made Yadu know that the power of the void can indeed destroy the cells of Oni Maisuji, and he just needs to adjust it a little bit. So Yadu needs to conduct another experiment. Do you still need a ghost? Kamatu Tanjiro fell into deep thought. After all, ghosts can't be found by just looking for them, and then he raised his head. Let's wait for the members of the headquarters to assist the other passengers to evacuate. Although Tanjiro Kamatu is also eager to make his sister back into a human as soon as possible, but at this time, he must first perform his duties. At least it's over. Purgatory Kyojuro said with relief. No, not yet. Yadu turned his head and said. There's a ghost around here. What? The rest were shocked when they heard Yadu's words. Yadu turned his head to look out of the window. The sky was pitch black, and not even the light of the stars could be revealed, as if something devoured them all. It seemed that there was still a long time before dawn. Is there still an enemy? Before Purgatory Kyojuro could speak, a huge explosion sounded outside the train, but it was not that something exploded, but something fell from the sky, causing a huge impact. They rushed out of the train to see what was outside. The impact raised a huge amount of smoke and sand, blocking everyone's sight, so that they could not see what was falling from the sky. Could it be that there was something from the train in the turbulence just now? No, not a thing, but a person. His gaze was as sharp as a sharp blade, and the cold light emanating was directed at the members of the ghost-killing squad. The man had short peach-pink hair, but his face was covered with strange curved stripes, like swirls, that surrounded his eyes, and beneath his seemingly expressionless face hid an outburst of emotion. His body is strong, and the thin clothes can better reflect the beauty of his figure, but the power contained in his body is far beyond the imagination of others, and his fingers are dark, as if wearing a layer of black gloves, but the nails were indeed red, like blood oozing from them. He is the three-dimensional nest seat of the winding string. There was anger in Yi Wozuo's eyes, but more of an excitement. He was eager to fight against the strong. Since Yadu and the others were able to leave the train alive, it has already proved that they killed the Nightmare. The person who can kill the Nightmare must be a strong person, so strong that it even makes Yi Wozuo feel a little more fear than excitement. He had just been watching everything that happened in the train, and seeing Nightmare integrating his body with the train, he had to sigh at the increase in the opponent's strength. Nightmare may have been qualified to enter the string. But the dark purple limbs and tentacles that suddenly appeared on the train were completely beyond his expectations. This was definitely not the effect of the Nightmare's blood ghost technique, and it was this strange purple substance that blocked his vision and made Yi Was can no longer see what's going on inside the train. This can only be caused by the members of the ghost-killing team in front of him. Yi Wozuo doesn't know whose breathing method this power is, but he knows that this power is not simple, and he who is eager to fight against the strong wants to fight the master of this power. Why did Wind 3 appear in this place? Tanjiro Zanman and the others were shocked when they saw the winding marks in the eyes of Yi Wozu. All windings were monster-level existences. Since the establishment of the ghost-killing team, they have never killed even a single winding, but some countless columns perished in the winding hands. Their bodies began to tremble violently, and only Purgatory Kyojuro, who was a pillar, calmly pulled out the Heron sword and prepared to fight. Yi Wozu's gaze swept across the crowd with interest, and finally landed on Purgatory Kyojuro, and immediately felt that the other party was a strong man. So calm, you're a pillar-level warrior, right? An excited smile appeared on Yi Wozu's face. Presumably you are the strongest existence among these people, and the Nightmare was also killed by you. No, you should be talking about the ghost in the train, but he was not killed by me, and I am not the strongest person. Purgatory Kyojuro answered seriously. What? Yi Wozu was a little surprised, but judging from the other party's expression, it didn't seem like he was lying again. He carefully observed the other people present. Kamatu Tanjiro and the others were nothing but insignificant little hairs, and it was absolutely impossible to be stronger than Purgatory Kyojuro. Who is it? Just when Yiwozu was surprised, Yadu walked slowly out of the train. In an instant, a huge fear shrouded in the heart of Yiwozu. Chapter 18. What's going on? The moment Yiwozu saw Yadu, an inexplicable chill appeared in his heart, and his body began to tremble violently, not out of excitement, but out of fear. Like every cell in his body, they are warning him to get away from this man quickly. With just intuition, he could feel Yadu's danger and terror. This is the power of the void, which amplifies negative emotions including fear in any creature. Yiwozu plucked up the only remaining courage to cast his eyes on Yadu, and found that the other party's figure looked ordinary, not like a swordsman who had undergone rigorous training, and he was not wearing any weapons. Is it my illusion? It looks like an ordinary human being. Why do I feel this way? Yiwozu swallowed. After all, he took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down, but found that his body trembled more obviously. Who are you? Yiwozu shouted loudly. Yadu. Yadu said his name softly with an unpredictable smile on his face. Hateful. Even though every cell in the body was calling for Yiwozu to escape, but out of loyalty to Oniwasuji Musa's orders and his own arrogant dignity, it was impossible for Yiwozu to escape from Yadu. Although Yiwozu is eager to fight against the strong, it is only for the strong who are close to his own strength. At this time, Yadu was already several levels higher than himself in Yiwozu's heart. This was a feeling he would not have even if he was in front of Kaiwasuji Wushin. But now, as a martial artist, Yiwozu has no other choice than to meet the enemy. The formula unfolds. Yiwozu's body sank, and a strange but neat halo appeared under his feet. The shape was like a snowflake, but the dense lines made it look like a spider web. Destruction and kill Luo Needle. And he was the spider standing in the center of the halo. Yiwozu's blood ghost technique is to make him feel the do-chi of other people. This is something similar to aura and power. The size of do-chi symbolizes the strength of the person. The greater the do-chi, the stronger. This means that the stronger the power is, and when each person makes a different action, there will be changes in vindictiveness. The Yiwozu who can keenly perceive vindictiveness can evade the opponent's attack like a magnet and quickly complete the counterattack. Be careful, Mr. Yadu, the other party is a ghost, and he is still in the upper position. Purgatory Kyojuro nervously warned him. It's okay, it's just a winding. Yadu said lightly, then turned to look at the Yuo clan. The blood ghost art that can sense the fighting spirit, I'm right, Yiwozu. Yadu had a relaxed smile on his face. What? How do you know my blood ghost technique? And you know my name? Yiwozu remembered that he hadn't mentioned his name at all. Then may I ask, can you see my grudge in your blood ghost art? Yadu said with a smile, and walked towards Yiwozu step by step. Why? A vigilant look appeared on Yiwozu's face again. Because Luo Zhen couldn't feel the opponent's vindictiveness, no one should be able to escape the sense of the halo under his feet, and the powerful Yadu should have a rather terrifying vindictiveness, as obvious as the moon in the night sky. But in the compass needle, like the dark night at this time, nothing can be seen, not even a little bit of light from the stars can't be revealed. What's the matter, can't you sense my presence? Yadu's footsteps were slow, but the sound of getting closer made Yiwozu's heart beat faster. He clearly saw that the other party was getting closer, but his blood ghost technique was still unable to sense the other party's existence. What's going on? It was as if a huge black hole suddenly appeared in the needle, swallowing all the fighting chi in it into his belly. Destruction and killing chaos. Before he could think about it, Yiwozu continued to use the blood ghost technique and launched an attack on Yadu. His fists greeted Yadu's body like rain, and he waved a huge fist wind that almost ripped the air apart. They are like thousands of sharp knives. If they hit the human body, they will definitely turn the opponent into flesh. Yadu's face didn't change, and the frequency of his steps still didn't change. After the fist wind hit Yadu, it spread out weakly, like a breeze hitting steel. Around Yadu, the air was corrupted by the power of the void. They solidified in midair and gradually became a hard wall. On top of the wall, countless arms grew out, accurately catching Yuozu's every fist. Has your physical fitness been greatly improved? Yadu sighed to himself that he not only possessed the power of corruption, but also his physical quality has also made a qualitative leap. Every attack of Yuozu's fists is as fierce, fast and dense as cannonballs. There are only 2 fists, but at the same time, it creates a smile like dozens of fists, as if pouring rain. But in the eyes of Yadu at this time, each attack was very slow, and the movement trajectory was clearly visible, so he could control the power of the void to block the opponent's fist. How is it possible? Yuozu folded his fists in despair, but found a violent burning sensation coming from his hands. The hands are corrupted. Chapter 19. What's going on? Yuozu looked at his hands in surprise. The ends of his fingers had turned purple, and purple tumors still grew on them, and then tiny worm-like tentacles emerged from the inside like a cocoon. Even in the form of a ghost, Yuozu was terrified when faced with such a terrifying scene, but as an experienced warrior, although he didn't know what was going on with the mutation in his hand, he still relied on intuitively, controlling his body will cut his fingers off. And after his severed fingers fell to the ground, they seemed to be alive and spliced together to form a strange creature that had always been similar to a spider. What the hell are you? As a ghost, Yuozuo questioned Yadu so much. I am the void. Yadu replied with a smile. What are you talking about? Yuozuo couldn't understand the other party's words at all, but there was only one thought in his mind at this time, and that was to find a way to kill Yadu at this time. His palms had returned to normal. No matter what, Yuozuo already knew that if his body was close to Yadu, it would be eroded by unknown substances. Since he couldn't attack Yadu with the boxing technique he was proud of, he had to use other methods. Destruction and killing. Chaotic style. Yuozuo took a few steps back, and then he threw his fists and released several punches, making a deafening sound of breaking through the air, as if countless invisible blades were hidden in the gust of wind, attacking Yadu. But this still doesn't work. The wall in front of Yadu, which was converted from void matter, easily absorbed all the gust of wind from Yuozu. Not only that, bigger and thicker tentacles appeared from the void, wrapping around the body of Yuozu like a giant python that found its prey. The pressure of his fractured his limbs, causing the bones to smash together, making a screeching sound, and the Yuozu simply didn't have time to regenerate. The moment the tentacles came into contact with Yuozuo, the corruption had already begun. Yuozuo felt that his body had changed, and even felt that something had invaded his mind, but he had no ability to stop it. It would be good to use a little less force this time than last time. Yadu whispered to himself, carefully controlling the power and speed of the void corruption. The special pattern tattoos on Yuozu's body began to gradually recede. The original peach-colored hair gradually turned black from the roots, the words winding string and 3 in the pupils gradually receded, and the color also changed from the original golden yellow to blue. Ended. Yadu snapped his fingers lightly, the tentacles like long whips and the wall made of void matter disappeared, and Yuozu had completely changed from a ghost to a human. What's going on? Yuozu looked at his body suspiciously. The characteristics of a ghost were completely gone. What he lost was the power of a ghost, but all the memories of Yuozu as a human came back to his mind. These are the memories that have been gradually forgotten with the long years since he became a ghost. Yuozu used to be a young man named Komeiji, pure, enthusiastic, and serious, but until one day, his most important relative was killed by others, and finally, eager for revenge, he killed the enemy with his own hands and left in despair. On the street. Later, he met Oni Maisuji Yume, and was converted into a ghost by the other party. Thus was born. He gradually forgot all the memories he once had, leaving only the obsession to become stronger, and he also kept the bottom line of never eating or killing women. So in a sense, Uozuo may be regarded as a more principled existence among ghosts. But this does not mean that he can wash away the tens of millions of blood debts on his body. At this time, Uozu recalled the time when he was a human, and knelt on the ground feebly. Tears could not stop pouring out of his eyes, regret, pain and other emotions mixed together, filling his heart. It's the smell of sadness. Tanjiro Kamado said that he has a sense of smell far beyond ordinary people, and he can even feel the emotions of the other party, and he also unknowingly shed tears. Me, what have I done? Uoza, no, at this time, the man who should be called Komeiji was already crying. Then what should we do now? My wife, Zenitsu, asked the people around her at a loss. As members of the ghost-killing team, they have killed countless evil ghosts, but they have never slashed the sun blade at anyone. Although Uozuo is in debt, he is no longer a ghost, but if he is a living person, then the nature of his words will be completely changed. Uozuo's crimes are monstrous, but the task of our ghost-killing team is to kill evil ghosts, and it is not our responsibility to execute sinners. Purgatory Kyojuro, a pillar-level swordsman, also seemed very hesitant, because he had never seen a ghost that would become a human being. Kill me, this is my retribution. Komeiji raised his head and looked at Yedu with a firm gaze. Okay, let me help you out. Yedu stepped forward and put his hand on the other's forehead. Chapter 20. Yedu crouched down, put his hand lightly on Komeiji's forehead, and slowly transmitted the power of the void into the opponent's brain. Thank you. Komeiji slowly closed his eyes, his voice became softer and his breathing gradually became slower. Liangxiu, I'm here. Yedu knew that Komeiji was not a bad person before he became a ghost, and was forced by a tragic fate to embark on the path of becoming a ghost, and he also adhered to the principle of not killing women after that. Komaki could not escape the crime of death, and he wanted to die himself, but Yedu still decided to ease the pain of the other party before his death. Yedu used the power of the void to put Komeiji into a deep sleep, and made up a dream of an ideal life for him. In the dream, Komeiji lived happily with his most important family, living a carefree life. To the end of life. But it was just a dream. At this time, a happy smile appeared on Komeiji's face, but his breathing and heartbeat had stopped. Dying in a dream was the best ending for Komeiji, who was once a demon. He died. Tanjiro Kamado said, and at the same time raised his head and cast his eyes on Yedu. Mr. Yedu is really a gentle person. Young man from the kitchen door, can you please explain what happened? Purgatory Kyojuro asked in confusion after hearing Tanjiro Kamado's words. The taste he had when he became a human again was full of remorse and sadness. Kamado Tanjiro looked down at Komeiji who had stopped breathing, the latter still had a smile on his face. But before he died, his smell changed. It was happy and happy. This must be what Mr. Yedu did. That's it. Yedu stood up and said with a smile. In that case, doesn't it mean that Mr. Yedu has mastered turning ghosts back into humans? My wife, Zenitsu, who was standing by the side, said. That's right. Yedu nodded, then turned to look at Nezuko Komaman. After the first two experiments, Yedu already knew exactly how much void power it would take to turn a ghost back into a human, so this time he also had foolproof confidence. Get ready to start. Yedu looked up at the sky, and the edge of the originally dark night sky had turned white, that was the sun gradually seeing. It will be dawn soon. He injected the power of the void into Nezuko's body, and she soon became a human body from a ghost. Nezuko? How are you? Tanjiro Kamado eagerly walked to Nezuko's side to see if there was any discomfort in Nezuko's body, while Purgatory Kyojuro and the others stood silently on the side, waiting anxiously as well. Even though Yedu has just successfully turned a ghost back into a human, the members of the ghost killing squad still need to prepare for the worst. They all took off their coats, and if Nezuko didn't succeed in turning back into a human, they could also cover Nezuko when the sun hit her. Sunlight is deadly to ghosts. Once it is hit by the sun, it will quickly disappear. Nezuko stared blankly at the people around her, stretched out her hand, and slowly took off the bamboo tube in her mouth, which was specially installed to prevent her from losing her mind and eating people. Sunshine also tore the shackles of darkness at this time, and gradually moved closer to the crowd. Tanjiro Kamado and the others were already extremely nervous, waiting for Nezuko's reaction. Nezuko first looked down at her hands, and then raised her head again. The sight projected by her gem-like eyes was so clear that it landed on Tanjiro Kamado. Big brother! There were tears in the corners of Nezuko's eyes, but with a happy smile on her face, she rushed forward and hugged her big brother tightly. The sun shone on the brothers and sisters. Nezuko is safe in the sun. She really turned back to human. The rest of the people also wept with joy. This is a miracle that has never happened in this world. Mr. Yedu. I don't know how to thank you. Tanjiro Kamado wiped the tears from his cheeks and looked up at Yedu. After all, it's the group owner's duty to help the group members solve their problems. Yedu said with a smile, stretched out his hand and gently patted the shoulder of the boy in front of him. You can also earn points easily. Kyoto, a study room. The room was pitch black, and heavy curtains hung in front of the windows, completely blocking it from the outside world. There are several books scattered on the ground, and a teenager is sitting on top of these books, with a painful but hideous expression on his face. One hand supports his head, and his nails are almost embedded in his own skin. His eyes were blood red, but his skin was lifeless pale. Ghost Dance Suji is not miserable. He is the king of all ghosts. He is the culprit who gave birth to all ghosts in this world. He caused the bloody case in the kitchen door family. In order to hide his identity, he would disguise himself as a variety of identities and infiltrate the human society. Middle. At this time, the ghost Dance Suji no miserable was hiding inside a child's body. As a ghost king, he can connect with every ghost under his hand, know their thoughts, and get what they see and hear. And he, just now, saw Yedu's existence through the eyes of Nightmare and Uozuo. Yedu! 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 Oni my Suji screamed hysterically, not realizing that his body was shaking violently. Chapter 21. Ding! Congratulations to your group leader. The mission is completed. Turn Nezuko Kanamen back into a human being. Will be teleported back to the original world. With the sound of the system, Yedu also teleported back to the original world from the world of Ghost Slayer. He immediately reopened the communication group interface, and the system popped up another line of information. System task: turn Nezuko Kamato back into a human. It has been completed. Participants: Yedu, Tanjiro Kamato, and reward points will be distributed soon. Empire is the strongest, is it so fast? The task just popped up and completed within a few seconds. The strongest creature on the surface, it seems that the task of the system should not be difficult. Bald Cape Man, hey, you can only get points by signing in, it will take a long time. Yedu carefully browsed the words of other group members. It seemed that, as the system prompt said, when traveling to another world, the time of other worlds would be suspended. This function is really convenient. The distribution of points is completed, and the total reward is 5,000 points. Contribution level: Yedu, 100%, get 5,000 points. Contribution level: Kanamen Tanjiro, 0%, get 0 points. After the system prompts, the group members burst into laughter. The Empire is the strongest, ha 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 ha, 0%, are you sleeping from start to finish? The strongest creature on the surface, it's really funny. I have a ghost sister, it's really thanks to the group owner this time. Nezuko can turn back into a human. I really didn't do anything, basically the group owner solved all the troubles alone. Komatsu Tanjiro embarrassedly touched the back of his head. This is my little care, please accept it. A few seconds later, the system message popped up on the public screen. I have a ghost sister sent a red envelope to Yadu, please accept it. Did you send me a red envelope? Yadu said to himself, red envelopes should only give points at present, and he remembered that Tanjiro Kamen only got 58 points for signing in, which is not enough for the 100,000 points Yadu needs to upgrade. Just a drop in the ocean. However, this is already all about Tanjiro Komatsu. Thank you. Yadu replied and immediately opened the system menu. Points, 5120. I got more than 5,000 points all at once, which is faster than I thought. Yadu closed the system menu, and just spent a whole night in another world without sleeping, but he didn't feel the slightest tiredness at this time. The Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, I have a ghost sister, can you tell us what happened? When all the group members were focusing on rewards, Bruce Wayne quickly asked about the specifics of time travel. Okay. Komatsu Tanjiro nodded, and then told his previous adventures one by one. That's it. In the end, the master of the group helped me turn Nezuko back into a human being, and then disappeared. The other members of the group were all stunned. Touch, tentacles. They didn't expect Yadu's power to be so powerful at all. Yadu, ha ha ha. Yadu smiled awkwardly, after all, no matter who it is, it must be difficult for anyone to accept this terrifying ability. I have a ghost sister, at Yadu, lord of the group, I have one more thing to ask for. Oh. Yadu replied that he didn't expect Tanjiro Komatsu to make another request, so he was very curious. I have a ghost sister, I feel the insignificance of my own power. When the group leader came to my world, I was not able to help at all. Then because in the world of chat groups, time is on hold. Komatsu Tanjiro paused for a moment, then continued. So I think this is a good place to practice myself. Can you set up a space where I can practice freely? It's like the space where Mr. Saitama and Miss Estes had a duel before. The Empire is the strongest, this is a good proposal. The strongest creature on the surface, I also want to exercise my muscles and bones. I don't have points to exchange for time travel cards. It's too boring. I have to find a way to kill time. Dark Knight who doesn't sleep, if time and space is static, that's really good. You can do a lot of things that can't be done in the real world. It's really good. Bald Cape Man, then I have enough time to clear the video game, and I can finish it if I haven't finished reading the comics. A rare unity of opinion. Yadu stretched out his fingers and rubbed his chin lightly. From the moment they entered the group members who had made the atmosphere tense with swords and arrows were actually unifying on one thing. Yadu can also feel from the mission adventure just now that he is still not skilled enough to control the power of the void, and needs to practice in a bigger place. If you really set up a space similar to a gladiatorial arena, you can also know how much you can do now. Yadu, okay, as the group leader, let's reluctantly fulfill your little wishes. Chapter 22. Yadu found the group settings button on the chat interface, and there really was an option to create empty space. Yadu immediately pressed the button, and the surrounding environment began to change. In less than a second, he was in an independent space. The surrounding scene began to change. Yadu looked around, everything was pure white, nothing else, no walls, no ground, Yadu himself seemed to be floating in mid-air. Ding! After the empty space is generated, the group owner can build the space by himself. The system's prompt sound came to Yadu's ear. Destroyed facilities can be restored by themselves, and only group owners have the right to create and modify rooms. Do you want to build your own room? This is a big project. Yadu first shook his head, but then he smiled again. But that's fine, you can play to your heart's content. Yadu immediately opened the options menu and saw that there were all kinds of options and construction equipment, and first set the size of the space more than the area of several cities. Then he divided this space into several areas: city, forest, ocean, mountain. Various areas are available for other group members to choose from for practice. Yadu also added various AI simulated enemies to them as the actual combat objects of the group members. Moreover, there is an extra blank area. Yadu is in a kind of situation, ready to use his void power here. The surrounding scene turned black, and countless huge tentacles emerged from around Yadu's body. They were entangled like countless sturdy pythons, then separated immediately, moved around, and gradually solidified into strange-shaped buildings. It ended up being a huge temple. The Void Land already has a rough prototype. Yadu then created dozens of Akirs, followers and servants of the old gods. Akirs have a huge body, with 4 sturdy segmented limbs supporting the huge body, 2 huge blades made of biomass in their hands, and they are covered with conspicuous and huge armor. Full of sharp teeth and fangs, it seems that even steel plates can be bitten through. We shall be the blade of the Lord. They knelt in front of Yadu together. Although the current Yadu has the power of the void, it is far from complete. He only possesses the power of most of the ancient gods, so he can only create such a low-ranking worm in a short time. With the improvement of power, Yadu can also create more powerful existences in the future. The faceless, merciless, elemental lords may even be able to create their own ancient gods. What's a good name for this training ground? I have an idea. After thinking for a few seconds, Yadu opened the menu again and set a name for this space. Interchange. After Yadu completely set up the space, he immediately set it to open and quickly invited other group members into the area. The Empire's strongest entered intersection. Void. The strongest creature on the surface entered the intersection. Void. Bald Cape Man entered intersection. Void. I have a ghost sister entered intersection. Void. The Dark Knight who never sleeps entered the intersection. Void. The leader of the group is so fast. Kamatu Tanjiro sighed, and at the same time, like the other members of the group, he carefully looked at the surrounding environment. What a magnificent palace, even more magnificent than the Imperial Palace. Even Estes, the general of the Empire, was stunned when he saw such a magnificent building. But these buildings have an air of repression that seems to be completely swallowed up when you step into them. We just saw it outside, the group owner. Have you set up multiple areas? Bruce Wayne asked.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना?